actually in the screen?
Yep, you're right in the bullseye middle. And it's recording. I don't like it.
Why?
Because you're not smiling or anything.
Well, I'm not ready to shoot yet. Hey everyone, FG again. Alright, so this is a little project that I dreamed up the other day. Let's see how this goes. This is something I found on Amazon. You got a 12-volt socket and a 1 amp and a 2.1 amp. As you can see, they're different ratings. And this has got a built-in switch and also combination circuit breaker. The reset here, and when you flip the lid closed, it shuts down the power. And this is actually going to go in the tail of the truck, right by the tailgate. And I'm going to actually take this industrial electrical box that I purchased at Lowe's, which is made for heavy-duty conduit, probably 3-phase 480 or something like that, where you're running heavy-duty electrical wire. And I'm going to turn this into a waterproof enclosure. I'm going to take and slot a hole through here and attach this through the lid. Then I'm going to take some aluminum U-channel, very similar to what I did with the tools mounts that are in the bed of the truck. I'm going to run one up here like this and the other over here on this side, and have it hang down from the Utilitrack rail. And I've got this spud on the back that I have to get rid of, so this is going to get cut flush across here. And I have 2 caps that I found also at Lowe's, which fit fairly almost tight into these holes, so I'm going to use 2-part epoxy. After I get this spud knocked down flat, I'm going to put that cap from the inside and glue it in, and then I'm going to glue the other cap here on this end, just to seal this up. I suppose somebody with super anal retentive would probably cut this off as well, but one problem with that idea is right here is this screw tower, and honestly I don't find that to be really very offensive, so I'm just going to leave it in place, and then I'm going to paint the whole thing gloss black and get that mounted up. And with the gloss black that I paint on here and the aluminum rail, I think that'll make a nice contrast. It should look pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and start by removing this rear fitting, the spud here, and we'll come back and I'll show you what that looks like. Get the front cover here slotted out, and then probably go ahead and paint the whole assembly and get ready for final fitting. So catch you in a little while. Alright, so that actually went a lot easier than I thought it was going to. I just took a hand hacksaw here with a decent name brand blade, and just went ahead and sawed that spud right off. I thought that I would probably have to clean it up with the bench grinder after I was done, but actually I was able to get the blade tight enough that it made a really nice cut, and I don't even think this needs any final finishing. I'm just going to go ahead and get that plug in there and glue that in, and be done with that part. And this is going to be facing the bed of the truck anyway, so it did get scratched up a little bit, but like I said, unless you're one of those folk who's super anal that everything has to be absolutely perfect, I'm not going to worry about that, because nobody's ever going to see it anyway. I guess I don't really fall into the super anal category, but anyway, that went pretty well. And so moving on to the next stage. Alright, so here is the faceplate. Obviously I have not painted it yet, and this is not actually screwed down yet either, so I'm just kind of holding it in place to give you an idea. I just took and routed out the back here. I took a hole saw kit and just drilled a couple hole saw punches through there, and had to go back with the saber saw, jigsaw, skill saw, whatever you'd like to call it, and hog it out a little bit. It didn't come out exactly straight, It has a lot of things due, and so I just reworked that a little bit. Nobody will ever see the back anyway, just to make sure that these will sit straight in the front panel and look good. So that's where we're up to right now. I'm going to go ahead and screw this down. Probably take a look at how that's going to be mounted, and then go ahead and put the black paint on and give it a day to dry. So this will be a project that will be done in multiple pieces, but so far I'm very pleased with the progress. So that's where we're up to right now. Alright, so here's a quick status update as the parts are now coming together. I've got the panel mounted, as you can see here, and got all the stuff punched through, painted everything black, found some nice cadmium plated screws in my hardware kit that I've collected over the years, and so this is getting pretty close to being finished here now. I'm waiting for the paint to dry. I had to do a little bit of touch up on a few spots. I nicked a few things while I was working on it. I probably should have done paint at a later stage, but you know, there's one of those things that you kind of learn along the way. So anyway, and we roll over to the end here and show you. So this is what I did with the other fitting spud. I took and found a cap that fits in there pretty nicely, and I glued that in. And I've got this fitting here, which is actually the same fitting that I used to run the wires for the cab feed-throughs, which I drilled through my third brake lamp. So theoretically, pretty much all the modifications that I've done to the truck, with a lot of work, could be reversed, but with a minimum of wasted parts. I haven't drilled actually any holes through any of the real sheet metal. As I mentioned, the wiring for all of the overhead lights comes through the brake lamp, which I thought was kind of clever. I don't know, I'm supposing probably somebody's done that along the way, but this one I'm pretty pleased overall with how this is coming along. And let me see if I can get a better angle, and you can see, and flip back the rubber caps here, and you can see that there are two connectors here, one being a 12-volt power outlet with a twist lock type of assembly, so this can work with a regular lighter or the twist style locking lighter. And then also on the side here, the two USB ports. One of them is 1 ampere and the other one is 2.1. And then over here is the on-off switch and the circuit breaker. So that concludes this portion. The final piece will be actually showing it installed into the truck. Catch you soon. Okay folks, we're back again. It's kind of a dreary overcast day here. It's about 6 o'clock in the evening here in Maryland. And sorry about the jittery camera. Let me see if I can get that to sit a little better. You can see here the box is mounted. It's actually almost invisible when it's actually in the truck with everything else around it. I think it fit in there pretty well. Come around here, I'll show you. So I drilled a hole behind the taillight and I mounted a fitting in there so that I can run the wires through it, and then caulked it up real good with some RTV to keep the metal from rusting. And the wiring is just going to come right through here. You can see the one fitting pretty clearly. The other one's almost invisible now because it's been painted black, and I'll probably put some paint on the other fitting as well. And so that's basically just going to be about 1.5 inch little loop poking through there to get from one place to the next, and that should be very well protected as it's all shoved up inside behind the utility rail and everything else that's going on here in the back of the truck. So I don't really have any fear that it's going to be damaged by any impacts. So I'm going to move on to the next part of the project, get the wiring run. Okay, and here we are. Here's everything buttoned up. The unit's completely installed. Ground wire is mounted. The power cable is run down underneath the truck and mated to the wire that I had left over from the previous project. As I'd mentioned, I had a 14, a 16, and 218 gauge leads just brought through for whatever I might think of in the future, and this turned out to be hugely handy. So here it is, and this is all done. I'm gonna call it a day. Catch you next time. Hey there everyone, this is FG again. It's just a little bit of a postscript to the earlier video that was filmed. I just wanted to add a quick addendum to something that may drive you all crazy, because it gave me a few minutes of angst. If you hook up any electrical equipment in your bed and you decide to use any part of the bed as a ground, be aware that the bed itself is not actually grounded. The bed is attached to the truck with, I believe it's probably at least four large through bolts, which are connected to the frame at one end and to the bed at the other end. But in between those are rubber bushings. So the grounding plane from the bed to the actual frame itself is pretty terrible. And so I found that out the hard way after I got the USB ports and the lighter socket all wired up and everything looked pretty good, and I switched it on. Well, the light came on, and I plugged in my little 12-volt portable compressor to test it, and all the lights immediately went off. Right. And I'm scratching my head going, okay, WTF, man, what is going on here? What is this? So it took me a couple of minutes to figure out what was happening, and so I went and got a lighter plug that had just a portable cord on the end with two terminals, basically a long jumper wire. Left the hot lead alone and just took the ground lead, plugged the lighter into one of the sockets inside the truck, and turned everything back on again, and I got full battery voltage. And I was like, okay, now we know what's going on here. So from there, I went ahead and just took a piece of black insulated 10 gauge that I had laying around in my kit, because I've got all different kinds of lengths of wire, gauge, et cetera, just stuff that I've collected over 30 years plus of electrical work, and just made myself a nice little jumper. If you lay on your back underneath the truck and you look up, right behind the taillight, you'll see that there's a big folded piece there, which I think is, I believe it's 3 layers thick of sheet metal, where the fender is actually bent over sideways and then spot welded to the rear cap, which forms the frame of the tailgate. So I just took a drill, punched through there with it, roughed it up a little bit to make sure that the metal was bare, and actually to do that, what I did is just put a 1/2-inch drill bit into the same drill and just spot faced that hole a little bit. Then I came down to my draw tight hitch and found that there was a hole underneath of there where the 7-pin trailer mounting bracket, which hangs down, usually gets mounted. So I did the same thing there, spot faced it with the drill, soldered a couple of terminals, crimped and soldered onto the end of that jumper lead, ran it to both of those holes, installed some bolts and nuts with lock washers, tightened everything up real nice, and then put a shot of black spray paint over the heads to keep that bare metal area that I had just created from rusting at all, and went ahead and retested, and everything was fine. So yeah, if you're running into the same problem that I am, thank you very much, Nissan, for not grounding the bed of the truck. I don't know what you were thinking, but thanks for making me crazy, and here's to you. So until next time, have fun.